Rahubat, Rahubat. How y'all doing? We're live, we're live. Let everyone know we're live. Yes, appreciate love to Mrs. TBJ for showing us some love. Thank you for your donation. Twambo Terry, Freedom for the Master Teacher. It's always fascinating reading the scrolls, asking questions and propagating. We truly need our master home. We definitely do. You know, I stayed on the same one. Let me see. So shall I go back? Okay. Let's have a look. Yeah, I am now. Rahubat, Rahubat, Moisar. Let everyone know we're live. Once again, it's an honor and pleasure to be back on OSM Vision because our souls matter. And it's always good to see you all joining us in doing the great works of spreading Wu Sabat and reminding everyone the main thing is the main thing. Pana Babyanun, to come home. All right, so let's just give a big shout out to Mrs. TBJ. Join the link, share the link, let everyone know we're live. Rahubat Draco, Rahubat Ubura, Rahubat Haplight, Rahubat Life is a Blessing, Rahubat Muntak Amun Zahutui, Coco Brown in the house, Rahubat. Just waiting for more people to join. Okay, we got a caller, so let's get right in. Let's go straight in.
Hello.
Oh, hey, greetings, Rahubat. Who's calling? What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Yes, sir. Keon from the United States. I was really calling to ask to see your thoughts on the Iran and Israeli situation. And thank you.
Okay, so as you know, in Wu Sabat, we don't really give opinions. But what we can do is tell you, as we've always done, that a lot of what's unfolding in the world today, right now, is nothing new to us because we have a warner within our midst. We have a guide by name of Parnabab Yanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who wrote books many years ago describing where we are at now, and many of the things that he has spoken about in the books have unfolded. And most people who have been studying, reading the scrolls from the 60s, throughout the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, throughout the 2000s, and now we're in 2025, would have to say for sure that he said many things that have come to pass. And when you're looking at what's unfolding, this is also in books like The Luciferian Conspiracy, the Millennium books, the year 2000, What to Expect, and specifically the Leviathan books, which are 4 in volume. So it explains even the book that people call the prophetic books, such as the book of Revelations, it talks about different things are going to take place on the planet as we come to what people refer to as the end of the world. Now, when we say the end of the world, we're not preaching doom and gloom. We don't teach that. We teach that it's the end of a new type, or end of a particular type of world, which relates to the suffering, the removal of what we term the Adamites. And this is what we're seeing happening now. So when you read these books, it explains and talks about things like you're going to see tornadoes, earthquakes, wars, nations against nations. It talks about, the dragon, the eagle, the bear, right? These are all symbolic names for the different, countries. The eagle being America, of course. The dragon being China, and the bear being Russia. You see, so a lot of what we're seeing unfold, it's a build-up. It's a build-up, and it's not really about our opinions, but we do know that, these unrest and wars and natural disasters and so forth are going to bring about a change, because Mother Earth is purging, and part of there's an actual master secret called Judgment Upon the Adamites, which goes into detail about what you're asking. The reality is we are living in a day and time where you have ascending and descending souls. You have, agreeable versus disagreeable, meaning that those who want to live peacefully, in harmony, they want truth, they want justice, equality, and then you have the other side, which is causing the chaos, the disruptions, the destructions, and in the book of Revelations, again, it talks about there will be war. This is going in Revelation 12:7 and so forth. And it talks about there was a war in the heavens, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, and they were cast down here to the earth. And the two sides are always adverse to each other. So we term that, as I said, agreeable and disagreeable on all levels, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual. This is a contention or a battle between the woman's seed, as is spoken of even back in Genesis, where enmity was put between the serpent seed and the woman's seed. You see, so we're seeing these things play out, and obviously you've got to decide which side you want to be on or which side you stand on. And so this is what's happening as we bring in the sun cycle. It's already here, but it's getting more and more prominent, and you're going to see these changes take place. It's referred to also as the great and dreadful day of the Lord, meaning that there will be this judgment. And even in the books of Revelations, it talks about before the coming, right, of who most people are waiting for, relying on, called the Messiah, that this will happen. And that's what we're witnessing happening. Then, of course, you got, as I said, the dragon and his angels that are also fighting to prove that some people are not worthy. They're not worthy to be saved or receive salvation. And so it's, when we say angels, again, let's be very clear. We use those terms for the benefit of those who are reading the Bible and the Quran and the religious books. But we know that angels, gods, and these beings mentioned are extraterrestrials. So you're really dealing with the dragon being the draconians, from the Draco star constellation, right? And you look at, that's really reptilian beings, but there are different species and different types of reptilians. As you know from our video we just dropped, which we want to give a big shout to everyone supporting, sharing and liking it. It's done 50,000 plus in one day views. So, you know, we want to give a shout to everyone helping and supporting, because this is important. When we're talking about extraterrestrials, we only gave you some of them. There are much more that we've yet to share with you. So it's a draconian reptilian agenda. You people are seeing greys and all types of ETs that for many years people were referring to as gods and angels. And the warner, the guide, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, came telling us that he is that, the Black Messiah. He is that angel that's coming with, you know, the Son of Righteousness spoken of in Malachi chapter 4 of the Old Testament. And in the book of Revelations, he's that being referred to as Michael or Michael, right? The archangel, you see. So it's really becoming clearer and clearer every day for those who choose to know, for those who have an inner ear to listen, for those who have eyes to see, for those who want to bring about this new heaven on earth, you see. So you've asked a great question. And before this happens, you know, we have to go through the pains of watching and seeing the world. We're living in a very troublesome world with a lot of injustice, you know, people not having places to live, food to eat, famines, all kinds of things are going on. And this is the build-up until we get to that point where you shall suffer no more. In fact, if you just read the book of Revelations, that will give you the full story, okay? We want to give a big shout out to DB for the donation. Sorry, we got another caller. Oh, right, we're back, caller. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Yes, my name is Gary. I'm calling from Montreal, Canada.
Hey, Rahubat, greetings.
Yes, I have several questions. I was wondering why at noon they ring the bells at the church. At noon and at 6 p.m. they ring the bell.
Okay. And this is where you are at, because depending on where you are, the bells are rang at different times, but a lot of the times it's telling you the time, and sometimes those times coincide with services. But as you say, when you really look at that, you're actually looking at 666 right there, because 12 is 6 plus 6 and 6 is 6, so that's 3 sixes, which actually keeps the spell going of 6 ether. Because when you look at how these buildings are designed, they're not by coincidence. The acoustics and everything in the rooms, with the vibration that gives off, and then people coming into that building, they're designed for you to basically, the tones, the vibrations, and frequencies of the service and what takes place is going to keep you vibrating on a particular frequency.
Okay.
You follow me?
Okay. And I have another one.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look for it. When did Yanun enter the body of Malachi Z. York?
Okay. So first, he was seeded as a child, but he then fully entered his body when he, in fact, thank you for that. Let me share something, because you can read the whole of this. If you go to our website, UnitedSavingsWorldwide.com, right?
Yeah.
On the homepage where
Yeah.
you say, where it shows you the Black Messiah, then it's got click to get your questions answered.
Okay.
If you click on that, I'm actually going to do it now as so it takes you to a page where you can ask Yanun any question, but at the bottom there is a file where it says, "Unto us a savior is born," right?
Yeah.
If you click on that, I'm going to read it, but it's quite a lot, but I'll see how much I can get through. So it says, "Unto us a savior is born. This is what my blessed and holy mother told me," right? This is Malachi talking about what his mother told him. It says, "It was a warm summer night at 11:30 p.m. and the fishermen were mending their fishing nets as they did each Zamut day, as she was informed. 2. This was Monday, the Shabbat, year 1945 AD, when they noticed the 3 bright orbs or Nawar light that appeared to them to have appeared to come over the horizon or just appeared out of nowhere. 3. They saw a crash of lightning, no sound, no rain out of the east sky. 4. As they watched the lights dance in the night sky as if searching for something, suddenly the 3 of them just zoomed inland and seemed to hover over a certain place that the fishermen could not see from the seashore. 5. They were not alone. For this sighting, many others reported to the officials. 6. At the same time, in Tokoradi, Sekondi government hospital laid 3 young Ghanaian women in the maternity ward, unaware that the 3 Mikbat crafts of light were hovering right above them. 7. The woman in the center of the room was of the Iwi, people of the Akan clan of Ghana. 8. Her name was Maria or Marie Abba Okran. 9. She was born on the 10th day of the 3rd month in the year 1925 AD, age 19. My mother by DNA. And there's a picture of her there, and then it carries on. 10. The male doctor assigned to deliver her Mukrad, her child, in the strangest of ways, no matter how he tried to get to the hospital, could not get there, as if something was keeping him away that very day. 11. For Maria was to deliver her Mukrad child that day or soon after, yet she had no pains of labor, as the other 2 women who laid in their beds on either side of her, both were in great pain, crying for relief. 12. And the attending nurses were on standby for them to comfort and deliver whichever Mukrad child came forth first. And there's a picture there as well of the hospital and everything. 13. Suddenly the whole room lit up with this bright khazar, green light. And in amazement, the 4 nurses and 3 waiting mothers saw these very tall, dark-skinned men in illuminating white robes. Yeah, we showed them in our extraterrestrial video, with large Larat At eyes. 14. One of the 4 nurses in fear attempted to run and get security, yet she could not move. 15. Another yelled at them, "How did you get in here?" And another said, "Just who are you?" 16. The 3 Mustad Hayin Matha extraterrestrials smiled. 17. The 3 men stood around the bed of Maria and smiled at her and said, "Maria, Mary," and all 3 expecting mothers answered yes. 18. They, the 3 women, being from 2 different tribes and clans from different parts of Ghana, did not know one another, nor that each of their actual Rananat names were the same. Yeah, so they were all called Maria, Mary, Mariam. 19. Looking at the Mary between them, they both said, "Your name is also Mary." And she said, "Yes." 20. "How strange is this?" one said to her. 21. Looking back up at the 3 men standing there, one said to Maria, I am Razwan, And another of them said, I am Zanun. And the third said, I am Zakun. Right? It shows a picture of the three. And then it goes on, 22. We are from Mahab, planet Mazak, in the highest abode. Marlan, Malay, Ilion. 3. The three of them reached towards one another and interlocked their right hands and said, we three do meet and agree in perfect harmony. And a strange sound was heard by all, and a Khazir, green glowing orb, appeared in the center of their Yadadat hands. 24. And in harmony they, looking at Miriam's stomach, said, and that is Yanun, right? And then there's a picture of the Ilion star system, the tri-solar system. 25. The orb entered Raya's head of Maria, and her water broke forth in two streams like Laben, white, and Chakel, Nialtui, blue Niles. And still she felt no pain as the nurses rushed forth to catch the baby, and stated it's a male child. 26. It was exactly 12 midnight. The day is now the 26th of the 6th month, June, on Tuesday, the year 1945 AD. Unto Africa a divine child is born, Yanun in his person, and the person was named in Ghana Malachi Kobina York, and his extended family is Jazir Abba in Sudan, named him Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi. 27. Once the three men separated hands above Maria, the one of them, Razun, took hold of the baby's right hand and materialized a small gold rod. At closer look, it was in fact a zarab, a pen. 28. And the second one of them, Zanun, took hold of the baby's left hand, and his own hand materialized a clear glass vessel with Nabet Habar, gold ink, glowing. And the third of them, Zakhun, clapped his hands together, and they appeared a small clear warak, papyrus page. And there's pictures of the pen, the gold ink. And 29, it says, and the first of them led the hand of the Mukrad, child, with the pen in it, to dip the head of the pen in the gold glowing ink, and withdrew it. 30. The third of them stepped forward, and the first of them, with his hand over the baby boy holding the golden pen, touched the clear page, and immediately letters and madat words appeared on the page that none of them read. 31. All stood watching with mouths open wide, yet they could not speak a word. 32. The baby looked at each of them, and from inside of him was heard a male's voice speaking in their own Milsan tongue, and each of the Mukwanu beings rose upward and out of the ceiling, were gone from sight. 33. All activities came back, and the four nurses came towards Maria to take the child to be washed and wrapped in swaddling cloth, navel cut, cleaned, and then returned to the mother. 34. The baby just looked at his Muldatat, mother. 35. The child spoke to her that only she could hear, because the other two Marys began to yell again in childbearing, and at the same time both women's waters broke forth, and the Sawatatwi, two daughters, came forth crying as is the normal. 36. On the other side, the fishermen and other townspersons said, look, seeing the lights raise up towards the sky, a dazzling mikhbad craft from afar off, and it began to move once again right over them, hover over the Maye water, and then in the twinkle of an eye upward, they were gone. 37. Back at the hospital, the other two Marys gave birth to two healthy, beautiful Fataitat Masastwi girl babies. 38. The next day, 26 June 1945 AD, Tuesday, the relative of Maria came to collect her and take her home with me in her arms as this child grew. He did not speak one word to anyone except his mother, who was the only one that could hear him speak. And his first words for all to hear was when he was 4 years old, 4 months, the 4th day of the week. And they were the 3 names. 1, Razun. 2, Zanun. 3, Zakun. And she heard him say, I am Yanun. Then there's a picture of Yanun. Okay. I've got it right here. This picture that you're looking at here, that's the same picture. And then, let's keep going. All heard this and asked Maria, what is he saying? Maria just smiled and remembered that night that he was born and the lightning all saw in the sky, yet no sound, no, I can't read that, no rain. She contacted her ex-husband, David Piper York, to help her get documents so she can bring the child to America to join her other 2 children, a son, David Piper York Jr., and a daughter, Dell Elaine Nora York, bringing him from the east to the west. And let me see if I want to read the rest of it or jump, because yes, okay, let me just jump a little bit to, I'm going to jump to 45. The bright light turned out to be a Hebrew Strong's number 3519, kabod, a craft. 46, I was abducted by 3 Mukwan'u beings. 47, I first thought they were Mukradu, children like myself. 48, there were in fact greys named Kriel, Sa'at, Alomar, right? 49, I was taken to a craft, Hebrew Strong's number 1300, Barak, brightly shining, dazzling craft, and taken to a bigger craft in 1953 AD, again at age 13. I was abducted again by the same Murmadu, greys, and one other was with them, this time a new female named Ariama. 51. This was in 1957 AD, and this is my story, so let me complete it. 52. When I asked the leader of the Murmadu Greys, who is this 4th Grey, Ariama, and why was she not with them in 1953 AD? 53. Kriel said she was in the craft, and at that time they landed in Kentucky, and she was shot by humans and had to be Ba'uth, resurrected, yet she is well. 54. She is the consort of Sa'at. 55. This time they took me for 3 days and nights, returned me on Wednesday morning on the back step of the house in New Jersey. I had seen many things. 56. My great aunt beat me thinking I had run away because I wanted to live with my mother, brothers and sisters. 57. I tried to explain, yet who would believe the story? 58. One thing was new with me. An operation was performed on me while up on the mothercraft in outer space. 59. Some kind of small implant was put up in my yanap, nose. 60. Yet each night my nose would hemorrhage lots of damam, blood, and would not stop. 61. So my great aunt took me to see a doctor, and he removed a small egg-shaped object. 62. He said it must have come from a toy like a baby, and that was that. 63. The bleeding stopped, yet the greys still come to me to this very Zamut day. I have been taken to many Mikab Nasak at star system, met many aliens, yet taken into Mount Shasta and to an underwater city, and the Muzraq'u Riskians came and took me to Mazraq, Risk, and transformed me so that I could see my inner being, Yanun. And there's a picture of Mount Shasta there. Then 65, at age 13, when I returned to the west from the east to Harlem, New York, taken by brother Omar Abdullah Oscar Love Jr., as ordered by Sheikh Dawood Ahmed Faisal of the 143 State Street, Brooklyn, New York, Masjid. 66. I was taken to Rabbi Wentworth Arthur Matthew of the Commandment Keepers Ethiopian Hebrew congregation in Harlem to receive my bar mitzvah in 1957 AD. And there's a picture of that mosque, the Islamic Mission of America. And I'm trying to see if I can jump to the... This is very interesting reading. But to go back to your question, he was seeded as a child, and as he grew up, he became more and more aware of the being. And in fact, it's actually quite amazing today that the video we put out on extraterrestrials, and you're asking a question, and we're talking about the three Riskians. This is where they get the story of the three wise men. And you also saw the craft being called, where you also pick that up in Islam, where they talk about the Burak, right? And then that question you're asking, let me just read the last part because I want to also show you. So, right, I'm going to go from 74, yeah? And I spoke to them of what is time for you to cover who you are until the right day and time. 80, I said, that will be 1970 AD. 81, Omar asked, why 1970 AD, Isa? 82, I said, only then can I open the seventh seal and reveal that which has been shut up since Daniel, or Din of El, religion. 83, judgment of El, and break the spell of faith and beliefs, replace the spell of ignorance. 84, that hypnotic spell of sleep cast upon our race by the witches of Giborim, the Giborim. Daniel 7:9 to 10. 9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. 10, a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him, thousands ministers unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. All right, so that's the King James Version, 1611 AD. 85, what is that? He said. 86, I said, I will expose, reveal all of this at the right time. 87, he said, when is the right time? 88, I said, when the government is upon my shoulder after the year 2000 AD, 6,000 years hereafter. 89, he looked confused. I smiled and said, let's go. Now, when you go to a man from Planet Risk, he explains again the entire encounter with him becoming and knowing that he was Yanun, and I'm going to try and find that in a minute. But yeah, so I don't know if you have anything in the meantime whilst I'm looking for this to say, but he was, okay, here we go. Let me just read this. Don't forget whatever you want to come back on, write it down or something, right? Okay, here we go. This is a question on page 23, right? He said, someone asked, you have been teaching on disputable facts for over 25 years. How did you manage to learn and teach so much information for the amount of years you have? Answer, I am a being from the 19th galaxy called Ilion. We have been coming to this planet before it had your life form on it. I manifest into this body to speak through this body. I am an entity, an etheric being, right? We watched the 3 other cycles of 18,000 years, 2 moons and 1 sun, which is part of your 24,000 year cycle, the equinox. The removal of the dust cloud from light to darkness, then to light again. I incarnated into this realm from time to time. My incarnation as an Ila Mutajasid, or Avatara, was originally in the year 1945 AD. That's what we just read, right, in the hospital. In order to get here, I traveled by one of the smaller passenger crafts called Sham, out of a mother plane called Makaba or Nibiru. Then in 1970 AD was my time to come in flesh to start my work of breaking the spell of sleep, also called the spell of Leviathan or Kingu, the moon spell or lunatic state of mind, with the power as the sun of righteousness, Malachi chapter 4 verse 2. Earth astronomers thought it was a comet, which they called Bennet. That appeared on March 16, 1970 AD, 4 months before my 25th birthday, June 26, 1970 AD, the opening of the seventh seal, which marked the beginning of the Aquarian age. An astrophysicist named Ricardo Ciaccone sent up a satellite from Kenya, Africa in the year 1970 AD to study X-rays in the sky for 3 years, trying to map our coming. The satellite was called Uhuru, which in the African language called Swahili is freedom. Swahili is made from 2 different languages called Bantu and Arabic. That was a language created for the slave trade that occurred in Zanzibar between the Arabs and the scientists. And the scientists were well aware of our coming and called us Bennett. I, Yanun, am an Anunnaki, or we know now more as the Nataru, remember again, I have to point this out, how old this scroll is. And at that time, he was taking us through the Sumerian schools. And just like when we went through all the other schools, he would refer to us in the names of that school. So even though it was using Anunnaki here, it wasn't applying to all of us, right? Because we know now with greater insight that we're the Natharu. Anyway, he said, what you would call an extraterrestrial. Look at this extra meaning in addition to terra, of the earth, astral, or from the stars. I am what you call an angelic being, an Elohim from the 8th planet called Risk, which has 1 moon, Shishki, of its own. This galaxy, the 19th galaxy called Ilion, originally referred to as heaven, known as Elysium in Greek, has 3 suns, Shamash 1, 2, Utu, 3 Apsu, which means a tri-solar system with 38 moons and 19 planets, each with its own number of moons. I have incarnated here in this form to act as a human being for the sole purpose of saving the children of the Panatharu, which again there you saw the children of the Elohim Anunnaki, the Banat, which is the same word as Bennett, right? The chosen 144,000, just as Mary of 2,000 years ago was chosen by the Most High and called an alien, which is Ali and En, right? En, both of which are names of Anu, to breed the holy thing called Yeshua, or Jesus, real name Tammuz, called Horus. So too, the Banat will breed the savior of this time if they hold firm to the rope on your planet Earth. The planet Earth is also referred to as Orb Ad, Adwat, or Ki Terra, or even Tiwawat and Tamtu, meaning made of life. However, it was originally called Tema. I, Yanun, have come to save the children of the Most High, or the Elohim Anunnaki, from being killed as you bring your planet near to what could be its total destruction. Yeah, so this is actually ironic because the question before you was talking about the state of the world, and it's no coincidence we dropped the video on extraterrestrial. We're now reading about the extraterrestrials that came and how Yanun came. So yeah, if you want to read the entire thing and even more up-to-date information in the scroll called the Akasha Records, he goes even into more detail in there about who he is and why he's able to do the things that he does. Does that help? And we spend a lot of time.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack, but that helped. And I have another question. I would like to know what is meat in the Bible, because they say your fruit shall be your meat.
Yeah, it's vegetables.
So I would like to know what is meat in the Bible.
It's vegetables. It's referring to vegetables.
Vegetable? Okay.
Vegetation, yeah.
Okay. And who went to the seventh heaven in the Quran?
Well, according to the Quran, right, it's saying that Muhammad went to the seventh heaven and he rode a creature called, yeah, exactly. But obviously, as I was just reading, they couldn't explain how, because the Barak looks like it's like a mule or like a donkey, right? And obviously they didn't understand or understand about extraterrestrials and how they come and go in crafts. And so they just didn't explain it or break that down. But they said that he had to go to the seventh heavens and spoke with Allah, you see. But we know, as we've explained many times, that we're talking about the Pleiades. That's when you say seven heavens, you're talking about that constellation, the Pleiades constellation. If you look at that, you know, that's what I'm saying. The names that we're talking about, if you read like Job 9:9, Amos 5:8, they use names, but then the religious world don't explain it. But what you're saying, seven heavens, is you're talking about the Pleiades star constellation, which has the 7 stars.
Okay.
And
went there
next
with
question.
A flying donkey?
Sorry, say that again.
You went there with a flying donkey?
No. That's what we're saying. Like, when you ask people in Islam to explain that, they can't, because they didn't know or didn't accept or recognize extraterrestrials. So we're talking about a craft. It flew in a craft, just like the children of Israel that were in the Bible. They told you that there was a cloud that was guiding them, and this cloud was stopping and moving and stopping, and it had lights. That was a craft, another extraterrestrial craft. And again, you can go through like the crystal city that's spoken of in the book of Revelations. You can go to the visions of like Daniel. You can look at Ezekiel's will, the chariots. There are many instances in the Bible or the Quran where it's talking about these angels, or what they call angels, extraterrestrials, coming here in crafts, visiting certain people and taking off. But they didn't understand about extraterrestrials at that time, so they didn't know how to explain it. But that's because it had to wait till the 7th seal was broken by Malachi in 1970 to start pouring the truth to the world. So that anything that was hidden before or that was not clear, he was here to make clear. That's his job, his mission, to help humanity basically elevate and transform. But go ahead, next question.
Okay, do you know what is a Kabbalistic religion?
Yes, it's a.
What about this? What is this?
So it's the Kabbalah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like writings of Jewish. I've got to be the Kabbalah is kind of like, you see, like in Islam you have the ahadith, yeah. So you have writings that are done by what they call the learned elders of Zion, which is really it's like in Jewish traditions of mystical interpretations of what they call the Bible. So like in the Islamic world, you have the hadiths, which are what they call written by men or people that supposedly were companions of Muhammad, and they memorize things and then they come together and try to write what they call the tasfirs. The tasfirs are like the explanations that they give you of things in the Quran. It's the same way when you're looking at what you call, remember, the Old Testament is really known as the 5 books of Moses, or the Torah. Okay, so with each religion there are teachings, or what you call the esoteric, or like they try to interpret the the meanings or certain meanings, but it's also been desecrated and mixed in with opinions. And now, you know, that's where a lot of people, they study these things. And even in the Bible, they talk about a sorcerer, right, who was also one of the three Jesuses that is spoken of in the Bible, who went and studied the Kabbalah. And yeah, so that's what it is.
Okay, thank you. I might have another one. When you say people, places, and things, can you elaborate on that?
Sure. People deals with all the humanity, people on the planet Earth. Places deals with any place you can go to, so like different countries. And obviously things are things that they say they can quantify. So normally most people can't think outside of people, places and things, because it's part of the spell in terms of keeping you within the three-dimensional world. So when we say three, people, places and things, that's where you start to look at, why do you operate on threes? Everything is three-dimensional. So it's like you would say morning, afternoon and night. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. You know, everything you're taught is in threes, because it kind of keeps you trapped. Because when you start to rise above the three dimension, there are dimensions outside of three, which you only start to know about these or tap into these dimensions when you start to look at things outside of the 3D. So let me explain that in another way. So if you look at mathematics and you look at shapes, so if you drew a square, right?
Yeah.
You know, a square with 4 sides, right? You will only see it from, if you're looking at it front on, you would only see that square, right? And you see it will have 4 sides, yeah? And if you didn't have any other way of looking at it, you would only think that's how things look. But when you have a cube, right? A cube now has what? It has, so the square was just one side, but a cube will have a side to the left, a side to the right, a side on top, a side at the bottom, and a side at the back. You follow?
Yeah.
So now you're able to see things from different angles as a cube, which has now got depth. You follow? So like if you just have one view of something, you only see a limited amount of information. So the person, people or persons that may be on the other sides are looking at something completely different to what you're looking at. You see, now, if you took that cube and put another cube on top of it, and another one to the side, and another one to the left and right, and then top and bottom, you will be able to now see even more information. So the more you build these cubes, right? But the cube is just showing you one dimension that deals with what we call the physical plane, right? And the reason I use shapes and mathematics is because mathematics is discrete. There's different types of mathematics, but when you're trying to quantify or build things in this physical world, you kind of use math to try and figure out things. So, but there's something else called a circle, right? Mathematically, a circle has 360 degrees, right?
Yeah.
A square also has 360 degrees, even though they look completely different. And one is representative of the things that are unseen, where even though you don't see them with the naked eye, they still exist in the state of what people call nothing or no thing, right? When you say nothing, you're saying no thing. But they're things that exist that are not quantified in the physical, where you say something, the sum of a thing. But not what we hear SOMETHING. not SUMTHING, the sum of a thing. So now when you start to look at the periodic table, it would start off at a point where they say hydrogen, H1, right? And then come into the physical, things get more dense, or we say things that are quantified by the building blocks of the different atoms that make them up. So we say something, the sum of a thing. But when you go the other direction, below hydrogen, you start to go into ether, or states that exist, but they didn't know how to quantify them at a point. But now we're starting with more and more knowledge, with more apparatus starting to delve. And people used to call that the spiritual world or the unseen world. But now we're looking into that world, and it's now broken down as having levels of ether. So we say E1, E2, E3 go into 9 levels of ether, and you know, and that starts to go into gases and noble gases, and you know, like you build from that block. So that's what we mean when we say people, places, and things. There are states, say for example, your mind. Your mind is not in people, places, and things, because you can't say where your mind is. But we know it's in a different dimension or different realm called the mental realm, where you get your thoughts from.
Your mind is not in your body, like?
No, it's not. You have a brain. You have a brain in your head, but then you connect to that mental reservoir. So you have, if you imagine a computer system, right? It's like you have your own personal hard drive that's connected to a network, right? Like if you had your laptop, you have a hard drive in your laptop or your PC, and it gives you the ability to connect to the internet where there's all this information, and you can save things down or download things from what now they call the cloud, right? So if you were imagining the mental reservoir like the cloud, because people just think the data, all this information is in the cloud, you see. So yeah, so we're using that as a way to explain that you have an etheric body, you have a spiritual body, you have other dimensions of you that exist on higher realms, but they're all connected to each other, and you need to tap into those to be able to access higher levels of information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, nice. Yes, that makes sense. And I would like to know too, you talk about spiritual beings, and you say the word ghoul. What is ghoul?
A ghoul, okay. This is what we're saying, that there are beings that exist in different vibrations or frequencies, right? That you may not see with your naked eye. And what these are, they're kind of like what you would call an evil spirit, yeah? Because when we say spirit, we're just talking about entities that vibrate or exist in particular frequencies that can affect you.
Okay.
So you have agreeable or disagreeable, which people say good or bad, but it's really about what you might even refer to as positive or negative, because there are two states when you're dealing with this 3-dimension, where you're in the middle, and then you have two sides where you might say good one side and bad on the other side, or God on one side and evil on the other side. But you really are the person that decides which vibration or which types of entities you can resonate with, you see. So ghouls are like, yeah, when you're dealing with demon or like spirits that are disagreeable or evil.
Okay. It was great to talk with you, Sekel.
Likewise.
That was my first time calling.
Thank you.
I might have another question, maybe.
Sorry, your line is getting a little bit muffled. I can just about hear you.
What's your background, Sekel?
What do you mean? That's a broad question. As in,
Yeah, like is you Nigerian, Haitian? Like where you from?
I'm a Nuapian.
Yeah, I know, but
No, you see, this is
You're on
what
there.
you're trying to do is keep me perpetuating the divisions and the spell of, you know what I mean,
Okay.
division. Because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
causes
yeah.
divisions. When people identify as Ghanaian, these are all words and names that were used to cast the spell and the divisions, you know, on the place they refer to as Africa, or Afafreye Ka'a, as we say. And this is what we're trying to get everyone to say. Look, if we're uniting as one, we can't be using these slave masters' names and divisions. We want to come under one banner, one language, and, you know, as Nuapians or Sabians.
But when you say Nuwapian, is it like a division too?
No, because no one gave us that name but ourselves. It was the original name, and it's the one name that unites us all, even though people may not be aware or haven't taken the time to study and get the knowledge yet, because that's the best name that you can actually have.
Okay. Okay, second. It was great to talk with you.
Likewise.
I'll call back if I have another question.
No problem. Na uchaka
Okay,
zama
thank you.
wadu. Okay, so we had to deal with that, but let's go back to the chat because I know there may be plenty of questions waiting. Okay, so let's see. Let's get into how much is the cost of the Leviathan books. Can we make sure that you're in the Telegram group, because this is where we post everything once it's available. It's sold out at the moment, but yeah, make sure you're in the Telegram group. Do you know what, we study the stats, yeah, of how many views and how many people tune into our content, and it's amazing that there's so many of you like tuning in but kind of like not subscribing or showing us any love. We know you love the content. Show us some love, subscribe, become a member, because we do give our members priority to everything. All the new content, they get to watch it first. Anything that's happening, any discounts on any books, products, anything that's going on, the members, they get first come, first serve. So, you know, make sure, subscribe, like, share. Help us to help you. The algorithm likes it when you comment, when you're interactive, you know, when you're a member, because it shows that you're committed to seeing this through all the way to the end. Remember, I keep telling you, you guys are like in the early stages of Bitcoin, when no one was really aware, or only those special people, you know. So like as Wusabat spreads, and it is spreading worldwide more and more each day with your help. So, you know, make sure that you subscribe and become a member, and we'll keep you informed with the latest. Okay, we see Alex Rahubat. It's Rahubat Brothers again. I would like to know if you or the master teacher have a remedy that could help people with sickle cell disease. Thank you. Disclaimer, firstly, we do not give medical advice, all right? However, when you're dealing with what is written in the scrolls, like, for example, the Man from Planet Risk, it teaches you and explains to you that extraterrestrials have evolved so far that they have a cure for everything. And when you look at the history of the world, it's extraterrestrials that gave certain cures, like to deal with polio, many diseases that were uncurable in the past. They received information from extraterrestrials, and the master says that even death is a disease that extraterrestrials have managed that have advanced to that level have managed to basically overcome. So what we say is, yes, study the scrolls, come closer. We have many herbalists and people that use natural remedies, and there is a cure for everything. You just need to, come close, and you would get the help. All right. There are many brothers and people we know that have actually come up with many cures for things using herbs. All right, let's go to the next question. Burska noise. So
someone wants to know what scroll goes into the different types of extraterrestrials.
Right. There are many different types of extraterrestrials. You couldn't fit them all into one book, but the Holy Tablets does. The Man from Planet Risk. There was the calendar, which that was released in 1996. There were so many. My Brother the Extraterrestrial. Even other people like what's her name? That lady that wrote. It's at the tip of my tongue. If I remember. It's right at the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it now. But there's a book called it's at the tip of my tongue. I'll find it. It's actually in our book. Even in our book, we show you. We've got another copy. Yeah, there we go.
Your one.
Yeah.
Just the fourth one down at the top.
Okay, cool. Yeah, right. Let me see. This is why we encourage people to get the book. In here, I bet as soon as I start looking for it, I'm going to find it. Her name and the book I've actually put in here as well. When I say everyone's going to go like, but yeah, there are many books and other people that have had encounters with extraterrestrials, and they've written accounts, and I'm talking in all races. Yeah, so there were so many, and the reason why we can't give you all of them is because many hybrids are being made every single day. Every single day. So remember we explained how like other extraterrestrials such as the reptilians will abduct the greys and produce hybrids of them, and there's so many mixtures and hybrids. Where is it? It's like it's teasing me because it comes to the tip of my tongue, and then when I try, here we go. When I try to, on page 47 of our book, there you go. That's what I was trying to remember. The Body Snatchers by Suzanne Reed. Yeah. Suzanne Reed. You can Google that. That's R-E-E-D for Reed. The Body Snatchers. But on page 47, we've got a lot of the different extraterrestrials as well. So that's another good reference. Okay. Was that it for that question? All right, let's get back to Brusca. Rahubat Zamar, can you put into perspective a timeline of the Anunnaki and the Lulu Amilu and the Anunnaki story as it relates to Adam and Eve? Yes. In fact, again, in the same book, we've got a timeline in here, yeah? However, if you go on, I don't know if you can pull it up, Mujusu or Musbatu, there's a recording by the master called The Secret of the Seed. I posted it in the Telegram group not too long ago, so you might be able to find it. The seed you'll see it's the one with the green 6-pointed star. So you might just be able to go to the media and see that, and then. But yeah, in the meantime, I'll go through the timeline. Whilst I could actually tell you from the top of my head, but it's in the book. When you say timeline, right, you have to remember this as well. depending on who you are, like we don't have a time, like time, as you know, time is constructed and based around the planet Earth revolving around the sun, right? That's how we get our time. So if you're not subjected to being on the planet and that time zone or time belt, then time really doesn't mean much to you. All right, here we go. So again, on page 23, you can see a timeline that we go from 76 trillion years ago, right? And that's dealing with what we were just saying about being in air pockets as etheric existence or gases. Then I kind of jump because there's a long time span to 46 trillion years ago, where you're dealing with like the prototype of the living cell. Then you're dealing with 144 billion years ago, which you're talking about the creation of the stars. Then you got 93 billion years ago, the creation of our sun, all right, from another planet called Sao, okay? And then you have 66 billion years ago, you're dealing with when Kingu broke off from the planet, right, Tewawa, known as Tema at the time, or it's been known by many names. Then you got this is the bit you're talking about, the 24 billion years ago is dealing with the crash of Nibiru, right, onto Meldic, and then obviously, which ended up affecting Tema. And then, so what was the question was about the Anunnaki, right? The birth. So you're talking about, if you listen to the seed, the master actually gives you that breakdown, because somebody else asked a question about when we're saying the Lulu Amilu, we're talking about the primitive worker that the Anunnaki bred to do the work. And that is a separate gravitation to the one of 6,000 years ago, when you're dealing with the Pleiadians, or the replacement to the Draconians to stop eating the Pleiadians, who then grafted the Adamites to be a replacement or replacement food source. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because your question says, and the Anunnaki story as it relates to the Adam and Eve. Now, the Adam and Eve, people are reading, when you're reading the Bible, they're actually talking about two Adams, and you may not recognize it because first it says that God created man in his image and his likeness. And then there's another section where these beings are being created, but you're like, well, whose image and likeness were the beings before? You see what I'm saying? So that's talking about these Anunnaki that were grafting the Lulu Amilu for the mining of the gold. So when we say Adam and Eve, in all cultures, there are different Adams and Eves, because the Adams and Eves were kind of like experiments that extraterrestrials were doing when they were starting life over again. So when you go to ancient Egypt, you'll be talking about the Ogdoads, right? Which, you know, you'll have like Nun, Nunet, He, Hihet, Ket, Kiket, and Amun and Amunet, right? Also known by other different names. And those would be considered your Adam and Eve. But these were experiments that were taking place in the evolution, because every new beginning, if you want to use that, and there's the master teacher's got a scroll called The Beginning as well that goes into this in great depth. So when we're saying Adam and Eve, it's because of the biblical accounts that makes Adam a singular. But then when you're reading it, it's not making sense, because it's saying, let us create man in our image and our likeness, created he, male and female, created he them. This is where the confusion is, because the them is a plural, us is a plural. So you're dealing with more than one being that is being referred to as the Adamites. You see, so Yeah, so you're talking about a different time period of billions of years, and then like, I can't remember the exact date that is quoted in the seed. Did you find that seed? Let me see if I can find it. I'll find it and I'll share it with you. So yeah, when you look at that, if you get a chance, I'm gonna see if we can find it and post it so that
Is it seed?
I think it's the seed, SEED, as in, but the full title. Let me see, I can find it. I'll find it. I posted it literally like a few days ago. This is why it's good to be in our Telegram group, because even that question, oh, there you go. Right, I found it. It's called Reading. So let me send you the link.
Yeah.
Shall I send it to you or to this?
Yeah, send on private and I'll put it on the stream.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Right, I've just sent it to you. It's called Reading. Sorry, I've given you a different reading, but in that, if we go to that website and go to it quickly, that where that reading is, that one's called The Third Eye, the one I posted. That's why you couldn't find it. But when you go to that channel, it's called Mudrusu Tashruk, and you click on it, you see that there are different readings. The one I'm referring to is here. It's called The Secret of the Seed. Yeah. Let me send you this link. The Secret of the Seed. That's the reading you need to read. It goes into a lot of detail about the question you're asking. Copy. See, we're real, you know. This is live, man. This real time, live, and we give it to you as you ask. Okay, I've sent that to you as well. All right, so listen to that. It's on YouTube. It's called The Secret of the Seed. And there are other ones as well that you can also read on there. Right, let's get back to the questions. Okay, where were we? Where are we? Okay, I've got a different, okay, I'm going, is this, are you seeing Check Chaser at the top right now? Where it says, Rahubat Sakin, I hear about the asteroid that's hitting the Earth. Will our ancestors pick us up before or after the impact? And will civilization rebuild itself? You see that one? Okay.
Is that,
That's from,
what time was that?
give me the time. That's from Check Chaser. All right. Well, anyway, let me answer it. See, the thing is, yeah, we keep saying to everyone, come together, gather, meet up in the temples, in the stores, in the community, so that you get the latest and all the up-to-date information, so that you're preparing. Will civilization rebuild itself? Yeah, I would say the best thing is to stay close and get the latest information. We post a lot of this in the Telegram group. It all depends. We can't really say, like, it depends where we hit, the impact, and yourself, where you're going to be. Will you be lifted up? That's all down to your following and doing what you're supposed to do. It's a choice, and there's this book called The Decision that goes into what you decide to do. Yeah, some people will be picked up, some people won't. Some people will have to find other means of survival. It all depends. It all depends how it gets on the planet. It's just like saying right now we're facing conflicts and wars that are going on where people are actually using nuclear weapons. So if it got that bad, then we would have to find ways of surviving, right? So it's the same way. If a meteor hit the planet, or shall I say when it hits the planet, depends where you will be, who you will be with, who you will be protected by, or if you have no clue and you're just caught up in the midst of it, then you're going to have to basically, unfortunately, deal with that. Life is a blessing. What's this? Just like the master teacher, he had a smile on his face, was kept staring at me. We also had a conversation telepathically. Okay, I think someone's talking about their experience with a visitation. Will the asteroid impact destroy all of Earth, or it's just a specific location that will be destroyed? Actually, people are waiting for you to hit instead of like, what we don't know. Like, it depends on the impact, how bad it is. And in the past, when things have happened, it's never destroyed the entire planet, but certain parts, and those who knew what to do were guided and directed where to go and what to do. And then a replenishment starts. If you really want to get more information on that, read I Was There, which is here, Patarak, and also My Brother the Extraterrestrial, and the Psalms, sorry, the Proverbs of Yanun. Let me see if I can actually, yeah, the Proverbs of Yanun. Let me see if I can find it. If I can. Obviously, this is live, and we've only got so much time, but the Proverbs of Yanun, in fact, we actually have a few copies right now left. So anyone who hasn't got their copy yet, but this goes into the detail about the meteorite, and also the 9. There's a scroll called the 9 that goes into it as well. Yeah, I don't have the quote right in front of me here right now. You never know. Sometimes we just allow natural nature. If it's to happen, it will happen. If it's not, we won't find it. Ooh, I've just come on a very important part that I think it's nothing really to do with. Actually, it does relate to the previous question, right? So I'm going to just read this. I was looking for the meteorite, but on page 99, coincidentally, the 99, it's talking about on verse 13. Now read on Revelation 19:19. Wow, another 19:19, 21. It says 19, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. 20, and the beast was taken, right? And with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. 21. And the remnant was slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. And it says here, this returning Jesus Christ is Lucifer, the Sawar, the son of the morning, as in Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? And you see in Revelation 22:16, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. He's only pretending to be God. Ezekiel 28:2, 6, 9, 13 to 19. Note verse 17. Thy brightness, an angel of Nawar, light, and Nara, fire. Luke 10:18 to Thessalonians. So I'm just saying, it's interesting how we're talking about the beast, And I mentioned the books Leviathan, which are up here as well. Yep, Leviathan, there you go, the beast. Talks about the beast. All tying into what we've been talking about today. Right, let me get through a lot of these questions. So we keep telling you what to do. We're like, remember when Noah was in the desert building an ark, telling everyone that there's going to be a flood, and they're like, what? In this hot weather? They didn't take it seriously until it happened. So yeah, don't wait for the impact of the asteroid before you start panicking. The Night J, you're very knowledgeable in your work, Grand Elder. Thank you for your beautiful teachings and beyond. Yeah, thank you, but it's all from Partner Babyanon, the master teacher. We're all students, all learning. But I do appreciate your comment. Okay, Sam Smai, when are you going to talk about African tribes, religious, Yoruba, Zulu? What do you mean when we're going to talk about it? We talk about it every day. You have to ask a question like, what you know, these religious, like we say, we're trying to get away from religion because it's a divisive mechanism that is used. So we don't just come here and talk about, you know, things like tribes of Africa, Zulu, Ifwe, Dogon. That you have to ask a question. We're called Ask Us Anything, so that you ask a question about a topic and then we answer the question. So if you're new, Sam, you've been going over the same information week out. Yeah, because repetition is the key to reinforce knowledge, and there's so much information. We answer question based on people's questions. So people ask the same question over and over again. And again, this is part of what you have to learn, patience, and to realize that just because you've graduated past a certain level doesn't mean that newcomers or new people are at the same level that you are at. And just because a new student, like when you go to study, let's say you're new to a subject or to a class, how would you feel if the teacher was just teaching high level information to those students that were advanced? You're going to be lost. So it's not just for those who are advanced, it's for everyone. And sometimes you have newcomers that you have to walk them through things gradually until they get to a certain level. So if you have a higher level question that you don't want to hear over and over again, then ask your question. And you're just saying, explain Oludumare. Like, that's part of the Yoruba deities, but we're not here to like just, would you explain about him? What do you want to explain? We're not here to promote one religion or culture over another. We're here to teach what we teach in Wusabat. Of course, Yoruba in its original state before it was mixed or desecrated was dealing with animism, which is what is anyone who deals with African spirituality in terms of being an animist recognizes nature and its connection with us as, you know, this is where you get the word Natiru from, and you're dealing with the sun, the moon, the air, the water, the land, the soil. So that's what those are referring to. But we have a whole book on the Yoruba that the master teachers put out. It's like the question has to make sense. All the names that you just put in, explain Oludumare and Amo, it's just like, that's not really a question. Explain the Great Migration and how the black people turned white after 30,000 years in the cold their skin took. Where is that coming from? You see, this is what we're saying. Like, that is, where's the reference from that, and where is your source for that information? And we're not here to explain that, and because we don't actually teach that. So I'm not going to do that. And again, we say ego is energy on the go or energy in motion when you're dealing with things on an emotional level, because even though you just said, right, Sam, you just said stop repeating information, and then you're saying, okay, so what did he say about the first Africans and their thought process? So that shows me you haven't studied, or you're pretty new to Wu Sabat, and that question in itself is showing you that you should not be so hasty to say don't go with information. Because if I ask you who are the first Africans, as you put it, that's a whole different yeah, ask proper questions, Sam. I'm going to move on to someone else. Supreme, Rahubat, darkness, supreme balance to you. Likewise to you, Supreme, Tat Ray. Aburu, sorry, I can't pronounce your second name. Ogohenewarizi. Sorry. Let me just keep to Abura. Did the master teacher mention the date the star children will get their powers? Read the part of that called the Golden Children. We've done a video on that as well. People are asking about dates and things. The master teacher is never going to give you the exact date publicly of things, because then it's like giving your ace and your strategy away to the enemy. All right, let me find some proper questions. Yeah, Sam, now you're really starting to, before Islam came, Allah was the highest God, not only, and he had daughters who was worshipped also. See, this is what I'm saying, Sam. You're saying to not repeat information, but it seems like you do need to read the basics, because Islam's only 1400 years old. When you say Allah was the highest God, you're literally saying Anu, right? Because that's who they're talking about in the Quran and the Bible. And you said he had daughters who was worshipped. So Allah has daughters. So how did he have the daughters? We know this because you're dealing with the pagan Babylonian religion that deals with Alat and all of that. But like I said, honestly, you've got to do some basic studies as well. Read if you haven't read any of our scrolls from the Master Teacher Partner Babylon, I think you should start there. All right. Join the Telegram group so we can actually address some of these questions that you're asking. You're asking a lot of questions and we don't really have time to go through all of them. Okay, here's okay, that's a decent question. Can you explain more about the solar plex? I mean, some things as well, right? You can actually Google and search and then get kind of more information on what we teach, but really you're dealing with the energy centers, because you as a being is held together by many things, and your seats that are superimposed, right? So you have glands like the spleen, the pituitary gland, the pineal gland. These are also referred to as seats, or in the Hindu Sanskrit they would say chakras, and they all vibrate, and you can actually align them or raise them, and they help you with access to your higher being, right? So the solar plexus is the one that keeps you alive, because it regulates the body heat, as in you take in oxygen and you give off carbon dioxide, which is you burning the energy source that keeps you alive, right? We say the breath. Okay. We have a caller, Rahubat caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your question, please? Rahubat. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, Rahubat. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Yeah, this is Jerry.
Sorry? Terry. Oh, Rahubat, Terry. I think his line's bad. Yeah, he's reconnecting.
It says reconnecting.
All right, when he reconnects, we can join him. Oh, wow, now it's getting silly with Sam. I just saw that I'm not calling. You all are stuck on saying these European religions are false when everything they have done was false. So what's the point? So we're talking about Wu Sabat. While we wait for Terry to call back, let me see if I can find another question. What's the name of the scroll that was... we covered that already. Yeah, sometimes I receive this powerful energy on my head, and whenever I meditate, I feel this heat energy around me. Right, that's what we're saying about the last question when you're dealing with these seats that vibrate, and depending on what you're doing in terms of if you're thinking deeply, that's why I was saying about your mind connects you to higher realms and higher vibrations. And so, as you said, that they also react to what we call your aura. And when you say you receive this powerful energy, that's what's happening. You're tapping into that energy source. Like, for example, if you read The Science of Healing by the Master Teacher, it explains about when you're actually, like, for example, when you want to heal yourself, how you can draw on the green light, which is the green light energy, and you can actually draw it down and use it to help you heal yourself. So it's knowing about, as you said, how to receive this powerful energy, or how to connect and resonate with powerful energy that you can use. And your seats can also help you to transform into a light being, because when we're saying you're an etheric being or you're a light being, this is partly how you can do it. And in that book, The Science of Healing, the master actually goes through step by step of how you can do this. I'm just checking if any of that is in the Man from Planet Risk as well, because sometimes information is repeated. As I said, repetition is the way to reinforce knowledge. And so sometimes, it's not in here. But yeah, so that's what's happening. You have to learn how to control and what you can do with your seat to turn yourself into a light being. And that's another way that you can travel at the speed of light, when you turn yourself inside out. And that relates to you being that Makaba, or that light being, or that etheric being. Do you know what? Let me go from the bottom up for a change, just so that the people at the bottom don't. Lady K, my mom has a hole on the top part of her ears. It's true that they are marked by extraterrestrial. Why is that? Can expand? Yeah, not everyone. We actually did a video. Somebody called in with the 3 questions that asked about the holes in the ears, and we explained that there are some people that have got those holes, and they are the ones that will be communicated with. Like, people are asking about what would happen if, the meteorite hit. All right. I just got another caller, so we'll come back to that. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question, please? Is that Terry? Or
Rahubat, Terry Jamaican.
Yes. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, so I just had a question regarding the new sun cycle.
The sun cycle? Sorry, did you say the sun cycle? Oh, it's gone again. Yeah, his connection is bad, so we'll just have to wait for him to call back.
I'm going to tell him to send a voice note.
Yeah. Yeah, so about the holes in the ear, not everybody that has a hole in their ear is one of these special people. But there are definitely people with the holes that when things get to a certain point where, let's say there's no more satellites, these beings will be communicated to telepathically, and guided how to guide others to specific safe spots or locations or what to do. You see, so that's what the master teacher has broken down in the scrolls. And yeah, but not everyone with the holes, just like not everyone is, even though people always say, why the 144,000? Because it's a specific pool of genes or genetics that are required. If you're going to start life all over again, you might, it's just like I also mentioned about, there's a series called Salvation that's shown on Netflix where, you know, this whole thing of what happens if the earth is going to be hit, and you know, it's extinction time. They deal with that and they assemble. If you watch that, it actually really helps with understanding or overstanding this question, because it's like, if you only had a limited amount of space and you're going to start all over again. Okay, let me make it really simple. It's like, if you have an event, right? You're keeping an event, you go space, and you're going to bring certain merchants to the event. You're not going to have 10 of the same people selling 10 of the same thing. So you're going to have maybe, you know, like in terms of, is it called back? No. A variety, right? So you might have a jeweler, you might have somebody that's doing herbs, someone that is doing something else, t-shirts, because it just makes it, yeah, a variety, and it makes sense. So when you're taking people away, you only need like an engineer or a couple of engineers. You need nurses, you need, you know what I'm saying? So by the time you've filled the roles of the types of people you need, the rest are not really required, you know? So that's what we're saying, that only specific genes will be required from the many that are called, few were chosen.
I've got the voice note from Terry, yeah?
Okay, go on.
My question is regarding the sun cycle.
Okay.
Since entering the sun cycle,
Just remember, this is a voice note.
I know, I do know. I'm just keeping it real. I'm trying to make it as real as possible.
so
You
my
bait me
question
out.
is regarding the sun cycle.
Yes, your question is regarding the sun cycle.
Since entering the sun cycle, has the potency did the potency of the sun rays change?
Yes.
Did they become more potent, or was there a change in that regard in terms of the sun rays which we were receiving prior to entering the sun cycle? Then my next part of the question would be, how best can we align ourselves from the central sun which we have, the central sun which is in our galaxy, the energy from the central sun which is in our galaxy, our sun, and the sun which is within us, which is our solar plexus?
Okay. So, yes, the question, first part is, yes, the potency of the sun has changed. And this is why many people have been speaking about what they term global warming. And the summers and the heat, as you see, is getting hotter and hotter. And a lot of fires are being caused by just the sun heating up and, you know, burning like dried leaves where there hasn't been any rain or water, and that fires are starting. So not only that, in terms of where's the most potency, it's going to be in Africa. And this is why what we call like the Malachi coming with the Son of Righteousness with healing in his wings. He said that those beings with full souls, right? A full soul is a being that is in its natural state in Africa, born there, and therefore they get activated much easily and quicker because of the sun. Remember, the sun has actually got messages or energy that is being transmitted, and information that is being transmitted from that sun to interact with your melanin and your DNA. to, as you said, if you're in alignment and you're vibrating on a particular resonance with what's happening in nature, then you're in tune. This is why it's important to be in tune with nature. And so yes, your alignment in terms of your inner sun with the sun in the inner earth and the sun outside, it's important to be able to align your body to the planet, to the cosmos. And we do that, and we as a race vibrate on the tones of F, A and C. So once you're in tune with your body, which is vibrating on the A, and then you're in tune with the planet, which is vibrating on the F, and then together you're in tune with the outer world or the cosmos, which is vibrating on the C. So you have those tones, F, A, C, to vibrate on, that will align you and tune you with receiving the affirmation or the energy and the information encoded to recalibrate your DNA, because your DNA receives information by way of your thoughts and the way you live by way of your actions and your thoughts. That's why we're saying it's important to connect to the mental reservoir where you're receiving the right thoughts that will then result in the right actions. And so yes, the sun is definitely different, and as it gets warmer and warmer, because the closer the planet gets to the sun, the more the rays are going to be more potent. And this is what they're worried about when they're talking about global warming, and that the ozone layer is depleting. And these sun rays, this is what ultraviolet rays are, because when you're looking at the ultraviolet in terms of when people go out into the sun, they say these are harmful rays. So even when you get glasses, they try to have a shield, you know, from the ultraviolet rays. And the beings that cannot deal with the sun, it will affect them more, you see. So if you look at the rainbow, what people call the rainbow, it has 7 colors, and the last one is violet, right? Even though people say purple, but yeah, that's the violet, and that relates to the ultraviolet rays of the sun coming through. So it's very important to recognize that, you know, the sun will harm people who can't live under the sun, and those who can or haven't, basically you have to clean yourself inside out as well, because a lot of us have metals in our bodies that interact with harmful rays, and that's how we get, you know, cancers and all kinds of things. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question. Let's move on to the next one. Is your blueprint to life written in your DNA? Mr. Spirituality, yes it is, but the thing is, your DNA has been reprogrammed or can be reprogrammed based on what you're exposed to in terms of like light, frequency, sound, and this is why avoiding the things that harm your DNA and then putting the right information and starting to put it into practice by way of Wu Sabat will actually help you to reprogram your DNA, because the ACGT sequences, they're programmable and they can be reprogrammed. All right, so yes, you say blueprint, but we say black print to life is in your DNA, but you have to learn how to reprogram it. What's that that just popped up? Okay. What does Dr. York say about Diddy being... He's not really... He's got better things to deal with and focus on. He doesn't really speak about...
I've got a voice note if you want it.
Okay, go on then.
This one's from Terry again, yeah.
Okay. What exactly is Saken's 100 project? Oh,
So
okay.
from
Go on. Do you want to do that one first?
Yeah. Yeah, Saken's 100 project, like we have a lot of things to work and build and deal with. My 100 project is me coming up with a solution that I can work with people for us to actually put some of these things in place so that we're not caught off guard, and we're able to build and do for self and do certain things. So if you want to know more about that, it's in the Telegram group, and also you can just go to the page and show your interest of wanting to be involved, and then I will contact you, and we'll take it from there. It's just me coming up with a solution to fix the problem, because sometimes we know or see something and we don't take the initiative to do something about it, and we wait for someone else to point fingers at other people, when we can actually come together and do things for ourselves. And that's what we've been taught by the master teacher, to be, problem solvers. You can't say you're goddesses and stuff and then you can't solve your own problems. So yeah, that's what that's about. But of course, you can always contact me for further information.
What is that?
No, that's the alarm. But
Ready?
yep, ready for the
Just from last week's class. So from last week's class, where we looked at the coming in of the science cycle, then I think I asked a question regarding the correlation between melanin and sun rays. So now my question is, so what would be the implication for those people who stay in areas where they don't receive enough sunlight? Like, what is the spiritual implication, and how best can they counteract for that?
Yeah, so I mean, the sun is always out. This is why when people say nighttime, we know that it's not really, there's no such word as night, because it's really a shadow state. So the sun is always shining. It's just that if you're exposed to it or you're in it, and if you're melanin deficient, you can get skin cancer. That's why when people go to the beach or when they go to sunbathe, they tell you put sunscreen on, right? So because it will damage your skin. And if you are, because remember that the melanin is, when you look at the epidermis of your skin is the largest organ that you have, and it protects you from the harmful rays of the sun in terms of the melanin. The melanin is a coating that actually protects you. And if you are melanin recessive, then it means that it will be harmful to you. So if you look at what's been going on in parts of the world, like, because remember that the European was in a cooler climate, which is Europe, because it's, when you look at the equator and look at the parts of the planet that are very hot, like when you go into Africa or, you know what I mean, like, yeah, the Sahara and places where it's very hot, you don't really find a lot of Caucasians living there. But even now that the sun is getting, or the planet is getting closer to the sun, it means that they're building malls and building like places where there's a lot of air conditioning and away from the sun. So people that are not able to take the rays of the sun, they're gonna have to find cooler climates or places to be, like caves or under the shield of the sun, so that it doesn't affect them as much. They obviously have various, like I said, suntan, sunscreen lotions and things like that, because even in Australia, where the ozone layer is, quite large in terms of the sun rays coming through, many people have, it's called melanoma, they're suffering from sunburn and getting skin cancer. So to answer your question, if you have to be able to protect yourself from the harmful rays, especially the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Yeah, so that's why a lot of malls and big shopping malls, like the ones that everything is on one roof, under one roof, and now you have the underground system where you can travel underground and you literally don't have to come out in the harmful rays of the sun if possible. All right. Yeah, that's right, Mr. Spirituality. I agree. You can't call yourselves gods and goddesses if you cannot solve your own problems. Very well said. Thank you. So is Dr. Yor didn't write a book about it's not true? No, Sam, we're not saying that. Okay, I have to address this. We say all the time, yeah, ask us anything. But we say, ask everybody else anything as well. Don't just accept what people say and just read books. Read any book that has facts and truth in it. We have no problem accepting it because truth is universal. Truth is truth. So we don't have a problem because you're saying if Dr. York didn't write it, that means it's not true. We're not saying that. There are many people that are saying things, writing things, putting out podcasts, doing TikTok videos, social media videos, and they're talking about a lot of the things we talk about. It's just that Dr. York was saying it way before it became popular, before everybody else started talking about it. Everyone now talks about the Anunnaki, but you can see through the publications and the dates when he put out the information that he was way ahead of the game, right? Is that cool?
No.
Right, so what we're not saying don't read anybody else's book, but we're saying he is the master teacher. Nobody teaches like him. No one has published like him on such a variety and wide range of subjects, answering everybody's questions from any walk of life. This is not just a black thing, all right? Even though when we were going through the schools of religion, when, you know, back then a lot of racism was, you know, being... In fact, we're not the original people that brought about racism because it's a construct, right, of supremacist, being a supremacist, like, you know, the people say the white supremacist or the black supremacist. We've never been supremacist like that. We basically tell you the truth and the facts. And unfortunately for some people, they don't like that. They can't handle the truth. But the truth is the truth. So, yeah, Sam, we're not saying only books written by Dr. York. But what we do know is he has stood the test of time. Those of us who have been reading his books for years and checked out everything he says, it reasons out. And other people confirm it. As time goes on, they say what he was saying first, many years ago. So, yeah, he says, check it out. So we want you to read other books. But if it's false information and it can't stand, we will be able to dismantle it very quickly. All right, so I hope that's answered your question. Let's keep going. The sky will turn a pinkish purple. Is the sun? Okay, we've answered that. Lady K, the sun has been blocked out throughout the Caribbean for almost 2 weeks. They call it Saharan dust. Yeah, I remember when they said that before, but it's a blanket of white mist that covers the mountain. Right, this is part of the reason why certain places are not going to be conducive for you to be in, because we know, like, even in certain places, the clouds, they're covering the sun. So you don't really get the full sun as you normally do. And there's been talk of scientists talking about trying to block it because of knowing about this, what's happening. So yeah, this is why it's important to know where to be, when to be there, to basically get the most of what's happening positively. Okay, cover that. Should men follow other men, and how would you know the man you're following has your answers, or is there a blueprint to life? No, we say you should follow the truth. It just happens to be that who has the most truth or has shared the most truth, who is looking out for your best interest by helping you to elevate and to know the facts and know what's going on the planet and beyond. So this is funny. Sam says a lot of your Wu Sabat comes from that's funny. What is Wu Sabat for you? From the African groups, that my whole reason for asking about them. No, it doesn't. Wu Sabat predates the beings that you mentioned, and it doesn't come from them, because how comes, right? In fact, you'd have to tell us. Tell me one thing, or tell us something that you're referring to that you're saying comes from African groups. All right, I'm going to move. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I need to sign up for the one-on-one. All right, Sam. Yeah, sign up on the one-to-one. I see you want to do a one-to-one. Yeah, let's do that. That would be very interesting. Yes, should you go within to find yourself? That's where you start, because it tells you they tell you your body is the temple, right? And the kingdom of God is within the temple. So that's you, and you need to go into yourself first of all before you look outside. Yeah, but that quote you're quoting, that's again, who is that person? That's what I'm saying. Europeans will say things, but it's not actually always accurate. If you study what the scientists and anthropologists are saying right now, what you're saying was old, old information that they used to say, because they say like, it's like the whole thing with, I don't know if I should even talk about it. MJ, right? If you go back to the sun, because it's a genetic thing, you will get dark. The sun and your melanin will reactivate. Yeah, there's too much spamming, Sam. I'm gonna go to someone else because people are waiting to ask questions. G. Rawlins, how are disagreeable extraterrestrials able to be so advanced in space travel and setting spells on other beings without being nine ether beings? I appreciate your responses. What we're saying is, it's like saying, why are people on this planet that are disagreeable intelligent? Intelligence is based on you studying. So even when you look at who people call in the devil, Iblis, or the many names he has, he was second in command. The only other person that was above him was Murdoch in that story. So what we're saying is, just because you're disagreeable doesn't mean that you're not going to have intelligence. And so these beings have evolved and have evolved way, way, way ahead of us. And where we say, like, it's like disagreeable, it's a nature, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the agreeable side or the nine ether side, because even though they're disagreeable, they do disagreeable things, it's a battle between the two. And every time they've lost the disagreeables, that's why I gave you the example in the book of Revelation with Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon and his angels. When they lose, they go somewhere else and colonize and try to take over that planet and cause a lot of chaos, to the point where that disruption or chaos can affect, because remember, when you start to deal with quantum entanglement and deal with what we call quantum mechanics, everything affects everything, or everything is interconnected, right? So when they do this, it causes instability, which can then have an effect on the other planets and vibrations that can go on and on. So this is why they tell you that the iniquities of what they've been doing on the planet has reached the heavens, to the point where a mission then like Michael is sent to come and do battle again. And when they lose, sometimes they may be able to escape and go somewhere else. And when you start to look at the universe or the cosmos, they go into different places, like even the whole story about the Humbaba, and who you guys call, or we know by many names, Tarnush. They were in distress and they were allowed to take refuge on risk, right? And after a while, being disagreeable, they weren't content with being helped and rescued. He wanted to take over and make that place his own. Much like here today, where people go to other people's land and be like, they'll be welcome, and then the next minute they want to take over and colonize. And so then battle takes place. And so yes, you're right, but this time round, the 6 ether forces are being removed for good. Yeah, so Great question. Yeah, it's like you can be on this planet with very smart, disagreeable people, and they can trick you and come across as if they've got good intentions, but they actually have a different motive. But as 9 ether beings, as you say, you also have powers and have ancestors and other beings. This is the battle between you yourself as well, where you have disagreeable within you as well as agreeable. And you have disagreeable ancestors and agreeable ancestors. And if you listen and give in to the disagreeable ones, you will act out their wishes and their thoughts. And if you listen to the agreeable ones, you will subdue and suppress the disagreeable ones to the point where they're not active or have an impact in your life, because you don't listen to them telling you the things that are not agreeable to you, so you won't do them. And we can go into, you know, I'm not to put anybody on the spot, but like, if you want to live a healthy, clean, positive life, then you're not going to want to be doing the things that are going to bring you down in vibration. You know, taking drugs, smoking, alcohol, and, you know what I mean, whoring and all kinds of stuff that people can do that will damage their being. So, yeah, it's a good point, and it's about the balance and subduing the negative within you. Streets, who's the rising Christ of Egypt? That would be Amun. Yeah, and the word Amun, so when you see like Tutankhamun, that's the being, the reincarnation known in ancient Egypt. All right, and it's not, we don't even use the word Christ because we say Karast, but you're dealing with. Okay, actually, this is a good point. Thanks for reminding me about something I wanted to say. A question was asked. A sister called up last week and was asking for her friend about, does the master say he's Jesus? And I answered and said, no, he's never said anywhere that he's Jesus or in any of the books, which is true. But the thing is that when you break down the meaning of words, as in Christ, which comes from Christos, right, which is anointed, and there are many messiahs, or anoint, that's what the word messiah means as well, and they're different Christs to different people. So again, it's the language that actually has an issue. So because you're reading something in one language, but in the actual original language, or if you translate it to what it means, like the word savior for Yahshua, right? That can apply to anybody that saved you. You could say that's my savior, but it's always made out to be one person that relates to the person that the religion of Christianity says came 2,000 years ago. But if you go through different cultures, you know, there's over like 1,300 messiahs mentioned in the Bible, different people that are called a messiah. So just wanted to make that clear that it's not only applied to one person. Rahul Bazama, it's Curtis. Can we go into how we got here from Ptah and how Khnum fashioned us on the wheel, please? We spoke about this last week. I'm not sure if you was on, Curtis. Rahul Bazama. We're saying that there are stories that are taken from ancient Egypt that find their way into the Bible and into these monotheistic religious books. And that's why I actually read it from, if you've got the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, right, this scroll here, it goes into that in detail as Khnum being the fashioner. And we're saying that those stories find themselves, like when you're reading the Bible and it says God took the mud of the ground or the dust of the ground and formed man, like there are stories that are allegorical, there's stories that are symbolic, and there's stories that are telling you about an incident, but in a way that is only like a parable that is recognized by those who have the inner breakdown, or the what we call the build behind the build, which you will never get. So a story could be relayed and then it becomes Chinese whispers, and then it becomes like literal when it wasn't originally a literal story. So when you're saying like God forming man from the dust of the ground, and we start to go into, because in that, the way they teach that story is like that was the first life on the planet, when we know that it wasn't. And because there's life in the soil, because you got bacteria that were in the soil that were already alive, but it's the way people look at what they're calling life that can get confusing. So yeah, that's the story of Khnum fashioning. It's a story talking about how our ancestors, the scientists, knew about like the elements and the things that we're doing. So for example, you hear the story of Adam being formed from the ground, but the Adam is relating to the atom. Yeah, because when you look at the building blocks of life, you go to the atoms. It's no coincidence that there are beings called Atum in ancient Egypt, right? Who is a triad, part of the triad deities, right? Atum becomes a story about Adam, but the real scientific breakdown is dealing with atoms, how atoms are put together, formed together to create life from different vibrations in terms of like from density, right, to matter, yeah, to atoms, you see. But the way the story is told, someone will read it and think it's actually mud of the ground, but it's not. It's a symbolic story related to what took place. I think did I answer that question about men following men? Yeah, I was saying you should follow the truth, not follow men. And yeah, but your DNA is reprogrammable, because I'm just reading that question about men following men, and I already answered it to saying that really we're now in the time of the woman, right? The sacred feminine. This is the time we're in. So when you say men following other men, really the women and the men have to come together, because we're dealing with a time period where you're ruling together, even though the female was first, and it tells you the last shall be the first and the first shall be the last. So the female was first, and now in this end time she's going to be, she was made to be the last, but she's coming back into her own. And this is why the master teacher wrote the Gospel of Yanun on the sacred feminine, which explains in detail her taking back her rightful place, and us as the men support her, because we need both left and right brain to work together to be at our optimum performance. Peace and blessings. This is from Lamzen. I want all the books, but it's tight right now. Laughing at, I'm a big reader, but also enjoy these question answer sessions. I appreciate love. Yeah, appreciate love you so much too. Yeah, we actually were talking about ways for people who, you know, may not have access to the scrolls, where if people have extra copies of books, or, you know, they want to donate them, we can you know, set up some type of library system, and for people that can actually obviously in the different locations go there, read a scroll and so on, and just trying to help as much as we can. But yeah, the more the word is spread, the more production, the more the quantities, the less costly it will be. So this is why we have to all do our bit. And, you know, you don't hear many people talking about how can I help. I see you said, how can I join the Brotherhood and partake on those secret rituals? All right, well, again, you have to, first of all, have the intentions, have the thoughts, and you manifest what you would like by way of, like you've said it, you've already spoken the word, and the opportunity will come for you. But we keep telling everybody, come closer, you know, be a part of the family, be a part of the community, because it's mouth to ear, a lot of things that are not going to be publicly shared. So And that's like in any organization, in any kind of even companies, they're not going to share their secrets to everyone just like that. Can I just turn up to the Saturday? Yeah, you can turn up to the Saturday class anytime. You don't need an invitation. Yeah, you can turn up anytime. That's from Sandra Grant. Rahul Batsaken, can I just turn up to the Saturday classes at the shop in Croydon and also purchase books? Yes, you can. You can bring your children, bring your family. It's a children-friendly zone. Like the master says, you shouldn't go anywhere you can't take your children. Is it okay is it okay for a Nagaru newborn to take the immunization vaccine and other vaccine they gave us as kids? Again, as parents, you have to make the right decisions for your children. And yeah, there are certain things that, as I said, we cannot give medical advice. So, mouth to ear. Thanks for this. That's from GOM. Ike's Legend. I just wanted to ask if there was a way I could purchase the attire that you are wearing. Absolutely. And of course, other merchandise. Thank you very much. Yes, but the thing is, right, we have to emphasize this. This is our cultural attire. You can wear it if you're going to represent the culture, you know. So, you know, we take that very seriously, because it's like you're impersonating if you are rocking it, but you're not living and, you know, putting the Wusabat in your life. So it's like you wearing a policeman suit and walking the street. Like, you can get arrested in that. So, Lawrence, do you all believe in cremation, and how many days do you wait until burial? Yeah, we don't deal with the, we actually practice cremation at the moment just because of what it means and the fact that you don't want to be tied to this world, because the life is in the blood, it's in the marrow, it's in the bones, it's in your physical being, and it takes a long time for it to decompose. So we do cremate at the moment, but in our rightful environment, there are rituals and certain things that we would put in place as we did in the past. And yeah, we don't at the moment promote burial because of what I just explained about your essence or your spirit and soul being trapped here instead of being released to return back to the natural ether energy. And yeah, of course, if a person's wishes to, you know, be buried, and that's the last kind of like in terms of what they've said in their wills and things like that, then you have to respect the wishes of the deceased. Again, Ike's Legend. Hi there, I'm one of your long-time viewers and subscribers. I love the content and information. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Love you for that. Holy, okay. What else we got here? OSM Vision. Okay, thanks. Is there a scroll that goes into more detail about the other types of extraterrestrials? Oh yeah, we kind of covered that already. Okay, I'm going back to the top now because I had to go to the bottom just to make it fair, because sometimes the people at the bottom don't get their questions answered. Okay, okay, Rahubat darkness. Okay, we covered already. Can we talk about, cover that. Cover that. Yo, in African thoughts, you don't sacrifice yourself for others because yourself is most important. So why would he come to save us? However, get himself in prison. It depends on what you're calling sacrifice. Sacrifice doesn't always mean that, because when you say sacrifice, it doesn't always mean like in the biblical sense or religious sense of sacrificing animals or Jesus sacrificing himself on the cross. A sacrifice is just things like, we're not talking about that type of sacrifice, like blood sacrifices or anything like that. It's like you want to, let's say you want to improve yourself, you have to put the time in and do the work in going to the gym or doing the exercises to see the results. This is what they say, no pain, no gain. In that sense, not like a sacrifice like that. So it depends on what you're calling sacrificing. Sometimes you have to, like, in order to do one thing, you have to give up something else. Right now, our time is here to answer your questions. So we could be doing something else, which we've actually decided not to do this. So it's not sacrificing the way that you may be thinking about it. It's how much do you care about someone in terms of, you know, to share your time, energy with them or for them. All right, so I hope that's helped you clear that up. I think we've covered all the questions, you know, unless you can find...
Can I use a candlelight to meditate?
Yes, you can. But again, with everything, is how and what do you do? But yeah, we cover that in our book again. Most of the questions you ask, because the reason we actually put the book together was, as it says on the back, based on the question we got asked the most, like, where should I start on my journey, like my spiritual and conscious journey? Like, what is the one book that I should start off with or I should read? And because we got asked that question so many times, we decided, okay, let's put it together, and then we give you a list of books and direct you to, you know, the other books so that you can actually start your studies in a way that kind of gives you the foundation, you see. So yeah, I hope you all are enjoying the video, the 33 aliens video. And why 33? 3 times 3 gives you the number 9, the highest number, right? And there's much symbology around the 33. If you do your research on numerology and studies, you will find out. But there are many species, hybrids, that are new every day. Trying to see if there's a question I've missed. I don't think I don't think Sam is Sam new. He must be new because
He said watches every week.
okay, because a lot of what he's saying we've already covered. And
Someone said, what do you think about spiritual cleansing?
what do that mean? What do I think about it? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah, that's what we say. When we say clean yourself inside out, we're already aware that you're composed of your physical, your spiritual. Yes, it's a cleanse inside out. Both the things you may not know about or can't see, those need to be cleansed. Like your thoughts need to be cleansed, you know. So yeah, we are all for spiritual cleansing as well as physical cleansing. So there are things to do that, and you do that by, you know, like we say already, like the spiritual practices, the fasting, the meditation, the relaxation, the mindfulness, many things that you do for the spirit as opposed to for the body, that gives you that healing. Okay, Lawrence, cover that. Actually, we're actually coming to the end anyway, so it looks like we've covered every question. Uburu, more seriously, how can I join the Brotherhood? The first thing is to become a part of the community and be familiar with Wu Sabat and what we teach to a higher degree and level. Be involved, and then you will find your way. Okay, I think we've covered every question. I don't think you can find your answers in a book other than, okay, I haven't covered this one, Mr. spirituality. I don't think you can find your answers in a book other than the Book of You. That sounds nice. These are the types of things, yeah. This is how we lead people astray, because like you say the Book of You, but everyone is different. And if everybody has a way that they think they should do things, doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most sensible or correct way of doing it. And if you never read any books and wasn't taught in schools or nursery or anything, then you wouldn't even really know much. And the thing is, the reason the master teacher has been sent is to teach and guide as someone who knows the best method and way to do it. Because really, information is very valuable. And information comes by way of the data that you accumulate. And then you reason that data and make it into useful information that you can utilize for your growth and benefit. You know, so it's like, would you just know how to make a smart mobile phone, for example, or how to develop a plane, or, you know, so you have to study. Studying is the way your mind draws out formation or connects to higher levels to. So yeah, it's, people say that when they make it personal, like, my God, my Bible, my thoughts, I believe, and it's all about them. And it's like when you start to reason it out and question them, then it's like, I know you mean well, but yes, your book, you do have to look inside yourself so that you're speaking within your being to know if something makes sense. But you can't just live in isolation. No man is an island, you know, so it's about love and unity. It is about coming together. But we've run out of time, and we want to thank everyone as usual. You know, no matter what you think, no matter how big or small your question is, we appreciate, love you for being here and for asking it. We encourage you to read the scrolls, attend classes, because everyone's journey is different. You know, there are people who come into the Wu Sabat culture for the first time, and you have to do that whole thing of wrestling with Jacob, right? Because you come with preconceived ideas or notions, or some people come with, they know it all, you know, and after time, if they're actually patient enough to take the time to read the scrolls, they will start to be humbled, because you're dealing with a supreme being. And don't allow your ego or your emotions get the better of you, which will hinder your progress and learning, so that you can get to the higher level information and secrets that we refer to as the master's secrets. But once again, if you haven't seen the 33 aliens video yet, do watch that, because we are living in a day and time where they're going to become more and more visible, and you're not going to be able to hide it anymore, as it's been hidden for many years. All right, so the link is in the chat. Until next week, Ta'ukum, thank you all, and Wadu.
In the Upanishads, even amongst the people of sin, the Hindus, they even spoke about their beings, the Nephilims, the wicked ones that came through. Came through where? Came through where? Everybody's looking up.
And this part is like, you know, when you watch the movie and you see the credits, and then, no. Yeah, I wanted to let you know I'm actually teaching class this Saturday. For those who want to attend online or in person, you're very welcome. And the title of the class is Die to Live. All right, Wadu.
In the Upanishads, even amongst the people of sin, the Hindus, they even spoke about their beings, the Nephilims, the wicked ones that came through. Came through where? Came through where? Everybody's looking up. Everybody's talking about the forces or the elders that came from up down here. Right? But they taught you and I to worship a word and to look down. and cut us off from the power of the Elohim, which links us to El, who is Allah. You say Allah and El is the same thing. Allah, La ilaha illallah, El, La ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah. What then? When you take Arab, say Arab, break down the word Allah, he says El Illah. El Illah, the God. But when you say God with dyslexia, you come up with dog, and dog is Anubis. You see that? The jackal dog of ancient Egypt. Symbolically of them marrying in. When the Hyksos dynasty got into Egypt, the light-skinned Egyptians, it was from mixing in with us. You follow that? We were the jackal god to them. And whenever they portrayed a jackal god in ancient Egypt, it's a black dog. Don't believe me. Look it up. Ain't no more time for beliefs. Belief means B-E what? Lie. It's to lie to Eve's children. And that's exactly what he said he was going to do in Genesis 3. He's going to put this hate and envy between who? And who? No, come on, say it like you believe it. That's right. Did he say between Adam's seed? No. So who is the superior in the eyes? The male or the female amongst us? Oh, wait. Wait, back up. You know. You don't want to hear that. But that's not what the scripture says. The scripture teaches us that we are the woman's seed. Not that she is our seed. And the war is going to be between the woman and the serpent. And her seed, which is you and me. That's why in ancient Egypt, the god Isis is the ark for the archangels that domes over the heavens and is painted blue, and the man is on his back looking up. Because all men pass through the garden to get into earth. The garden is pure and unadulterated. It's called the vagina or virginity. We all pass through it to get here. Now, some men are saying, but didn't women originally come from us? Oh, yes. And didn't we originally come from? Yes. That's because we are the ruh principle, and she is the nafs principle. The nafs principle is interpreted in ancient Egypt as the ka, the letter ka, or what you might know as K. In your language, you put ka on the end of nouns or constructing verbs to identify you. You'd say book, kitab, kitabuka, my book. Now, when I say my book, kitabuka, I could just as well say nafsi, me. Nafsi is in the Quran as both spirit and self. So the principle of ka is both spirit and self. Both physical and spiritual. But ruh, they call in the Quran, ruh qudus. And Allah says, I, or we, the Elohim, strengthen Jesus with our ruh. See, that was up there. Now, to put things in proper place. In this realm, we are on the planet Earth. And on the planet Earth, she is the mother of all living. You follow that? When we get back into our proper state as Elohim in the heavens, we are the Father of the heavens. See, when they refer to the Almighty, they refer to him as a father figure. When they refer to the creation of beings, they refer to it as a mother figure. Thus, we have to come to the mother as a soul to manifest as a spirit and a self on this planet. So we were soul first. And prior to that, we were holy soul. Ruh Qudus. A part of the Elohim. But we have fallen to less than man. We reduced ourselves to animals and beasts. chasing the animals and cutting their heads off and drinking their blood. Right? We're now destroying everything. But it's because we are out of our minds. You see, we are out of our minds. Literally out of our minds. When we was in our mind, nobody can fool us. But now this devil has given us his mind. And that brings me back to what I was talking about. And that's why he's afraid of you, brother. Because after 3 generations of being in America, you know what's starting to happen? Negroes on television, you can't tell whether they're white or black no more. He comes on television and says, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." And you got to look around the screen and say, "Wow, I thought that was a white." That never happened before because we had the voice of the sound of many waters. The white man couldn't look us in our eyes because our eyes had flames of fire coming out of them. What fire? The solar plex fire. Solar. Now let me speak to you about a fire that's burning inside of us that they don't have. Their palate is low. You understand me? We have an inner torch in the ancient writings of Michelangelo. Notice his name. Michelangelo, the angel Michael. He made a picture of Jesus, Jesus, and he always would draw a little torch in his chest, a little candle. That's right. You remember that picture? Right. They never told you what that torch meant, though. That torch is an inner light, like I said last time. Anybody here who is 9 ether, 8 ether, or 7 ether, and when I say 7, 8, and 9 ether, I'm talking about the texture of your kingly hair, not kinky hair. 7 ether is wavy, 8 ether is curly, and 9 ether is nappy. You understand that? That's the fuse that's ignited by the sun. In the center of your chest, and that's why the devil calls it a solar plex, because it's a sun here. Take your hand and just rub it like that. Right? Now remove it. And just take your mouth and go. You feel that heat? You know that if you ask any medical doctor, they'll tell you more Nubian children get higher temperatures than whites. That's right. The fact. Don't believe me. Check it out. Almost every, or let's say 8 out of 10 Nubian children, when they came home from the hospital, within 8 to 10 days is back in because of a temperature. Because when we inflate our pyramid, you know what the pyramid is, right? Right there. Right there. Right there. See the pyramid? Right. And above the pyramid is of Horus. Right there. Right. You understand that? They always put, in ancient Egypt, they would put a cobra up at the top. Because a snake was not a bad symbol to us. It was a bad symbol to him because it represented healing to us. And they stole it and put it on the medical symbol. Medical symbol. Medicine. Medicine. Meta. Meda. Ancient Babylon. Persia. Assyria. Medicine. Look at it. Don't believe me. Check it out. When we breathe in as a people, talk to me. What are we breathing in? Oxygen. Right. Do you know something? I'm going to touch on things we know about us. At least 3 times a week you wake up with one nostril closed. Why? I'm not sick. And then the moment I get up out the bed and started moving around, that nostril opens back up. I can fool myself into thinking I'm getting cold. The light's going out. I'm getting a cold. You see the fire goes out, it gets cold. Or cool off, and go pop in some drugs that makes me breathe different. Drugs make you breathe harder. And you don't get in that full, what? Say it again. Oxygen. Oxygen. And what do you need to light a fire? Oxygen. And when you breathe out, what are you breathing out? Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. Right? What's the root word of carbon dioxide? Carbon. And what does fire give off when it burns? Carbon. I know I sound crazy. I know this sounds far-fetched, but this is what we knew as right knowledge as the Elohim who only served who? Yeah. This is what we knew, that that sun was in touch with us, and we're at our best under it. And that's why they moved the better part of us from the southern part of this country to the northern part of the country where we can't function. And if you get down to a hot, or say, oh, it's too hot down in Alabama, so that's where you belong. You start talking about something being too hot, you start sounding like the devil. Only reason why it seems too hot to you is because the palate that's inside you is dim. Once that palate is hot again and the heat is coming out, it meets that sun. You with me? That sun in Arabic was called Shams. In Hebrew it's called Shams. It's also Samson. Samson is also Shams. And Samson is identified by what? And his hair. Somebody don't want us to know about the 9 ether. That's right. You follow? The 100% in hieroglyphics is written as a 9. 100%. We are the only people with 9 ether. Now, anybody here whose hair is thin and says, well, he's not talking about me. If you get insulted, I feel bad for you because you didn't feel bad for us when nappy hair was an insult. You didn't comfort us when nappy hair was an insult. You paraded around with your hair brushed straight and wavy. And that's our people. That's you. We all the same family. But you didn't step in and give us that tutoring. We call ourselves picky head, naughty head, nappy head, never knowing why they're always sticking hats on us. So they're cutting us off from that flow, from that energy, from who Hagar in the Torah called El Roy. When Hagar left Abraham, again I'm going to say what? Look it up. When Hagar left Abraham, went back in the wilderness right before she went back to Egypt, she did not call on Yahweh, ask an Israelite. Who'd she call on? She did not call on Elohim. She called on El Roy, which is written Ra, Alif, Yad, which is Ra. El Ra. She was calling on Ra, not the sun, because the language sun is still Shemsa. Right. The word for sun in hieroglyphics is not Ra. They say the disc. That round thing up there looks like a disc that gives off the light that we could see by, because there wasn't no street lights in Egypt. And so Ra and Ra, for see in Arabic, is the same. In the Quran it says, don't say Ra'inna, say Unzannar. Don't misuse the word Ra. Say it as I see you, not Ra'inna. Right in the Holy Quran. You know, and go down to the tafsir, and they say, we don't know what's really being said. We think they're trying to say a Hebrew word, or we think they got a whole bunch of they don't know what's being said. It's quite simple when we get back into right knowledge. That light and the light inside of you is linked up. That light inside of you is ether and identifies you as the utopia. And when you combine the two, you get Ethiopia. The original people of Path. That's who we are. We are the ancient Nubians. Ain't no such thing as a Kubu land. Stop lying, Dr. Ben. You can only lie until they get the language.